Sometimes when I think about it. I'm sorry I'm late, Chip, man. That is my bad, bro. But, funnily enough, I wasn't actually late. I was here on time. And guess what? The security guard stopped me and said, you're not getting in with that on. Mate, I was just wearing a rapper's merch for a top.
Oh, really?
Yeah, mate. An absolute travesty.
Right. Case for you.
Did you get that one?
I got that one.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't get that one.
At the time, there was no crime bigger than when two Chicago sisters went to see an Elvis movie and never came home.
Barbara was 15 years old. Patricia was 13 years old. The investigation started with the night the sisters disappeared.
Their bodies were found 61 years ago tonight.
Two investigator Brad Edwards has an unprecedented look at the entire case file for a crime that never stopped haunting some Chicagoans.
Prescott spotted what he believed were two mannequins laying on the other side of the guardrails that lined the road near Devil's Creek.
Is there any help to solve this one?
Sometimes the passage of time works against you.
Grime sisters, two teenage girls aged 12 and 15, Barbara and Patricia Grimes. They disappeared on December the 28th, 1956. This crime, quote, shattered the innocence of Chicago and has been acknowledged as one of the most labor-intensive missing person and murder investigations. The two girls disappeared on the way back from the Chicago theater. Now, they were watching a screening of Elvis Presley's Love Me Tender. You seen that?
I can't say I've ever watched that.
Neither have I. Now, they were massive fans. They'd actually just joined his fan club, and this was the 11th time?
11 times? No, that's right.
11th time they've been watching this film. Like, that's...
Have you ever watched a film 11 times?
100%. 100%.
What film?
Borat. Tenacious D, Pick a Destiny.
Wow. You know what? Mine is Remember the Titans. You ever watched Remember the Titans?
That's quite a serious film, man.
That is. It's a cultural classic.
No wonder you have this energy about you.
What, Sigma?
Yeah.
Energy.
No. I'm the Sigma, okay?
Let's talk about the actual disappearance of these two sisters. So there was a school friend of Patricia's, and she was at this theater where they went to go watch this movie, and it was a double feature, meaning that they were showing two movies.
Double whammy,
meaning
right?
there was an intermission in between,
Yep.
and then they would go and watch another one, right? And at this intermission, the school friend said that they both seemed to be in a pretty good mood. Everything seemed absolutely normal, all of this. And because they went to go and watch two movies, it meant that they were going to be home at around 11:45 p.m., so quite late. And with that, their mother sent out their older sister and their brother to meet them at the bus stop for when they came. Now, obviously...
Let me not cap for a second.
Yeah.
Sending a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old out, knowing that they're both going to be back near midnight. If I had a 12-year-old child coming back at 11:45...
That's late.
On the bus as well.
It could be one of those things where it was a town where maybe
A small town,
an area
is
they
it?
didn't
Is it?
think anything would be too bad. I mean, it was Illinois, Chicago. It's not got the best rep. Maybe a little bit, I don't know. We're not here to judge the parents' parenting skills.
I tell
okay?
you what, though, they do good pizzas.
What, in Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, Chicago Town Pizzas.
Yeah, the one from Sainsbury's.
Yes.
It does count.
I'm not too sure if it's from Chicago, but it's what it's called anyways.
Well, if it's not, then it's very misleading.
Okay, anyways, let me continue on because the older sister and the brother went there and buses went past, 3 buses went past,
Yep.
and the sisters didn't get off the bus.
That's worrying.
That absolutely. So at 2:15, they filed a missing persons report and said,
Okay.
both the sisters, they aren't here, they're gone.
Now, it actually took around a week for the police to shrug off the theory that they'd, gone and stayed with their boyfriends, which to me sounds a bit silly anyway. We said earlier,
Yeah.
15 and 12 years old going to stay at their boyfriends. for a
No
week.
way. Surely
That
the
does-
parents are the parents are already lax letting them stay out to almost midnight, we think. But surely staying at their boyfriends at that age, I'm not convinced.
15, maybe. 12, probably
Certainly
not.
not.
Anyway, by December the 31st, which was 2 days later, the girls were front page news. Just on New Year's as well. It's not ideal, really.
This is a festive period, and this is absolutely not how you'd be wanting to go into the new year.
Yep. There was a theory that the girls had gone to Tennessee, you're the only Tennessee, to watch Elvis Presley in concert, but they only had $2.50 on them. Now, I don't think that would have even got you far back in the 50s.
No, I mean, first of all, you'd have to somehow get transport there, then also pay for the concert ticket. So unless they met someone who promised to take them there, which was maybe always a possibility.
Yeah. They probably already spent that money at the movie theater as well.
Yeah.
Because
well, according to the mum, they only had $2.50
when they left.
Yeah.
And also, Loretta came forward.
Loretta's the mother to those curious.
Just about to say. Loretta came forward and she said, if someone is holding them, please let the girls call me. I'll forgive them from the bottom of my heart. That's Cap.
Yeah.
But she was just trying to get the girls back. Anyway,
An interesting thing that happened was Elvis Presley himself, right? The man himself. This is because it became such a big news story. Elvis Presley obviously caught wind of it and made a direct radio plea asking the girls to go home to their mother.
Yes.
Imagine that.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
My Elvis, thank you very much. Thank you.
At this point, it was obviously a massive deal. This was a big case and it had a lot of media attention. I mean, having Elvis Presley come out and sort of, recognize that this is an ongoing case is big enough to make sure that all of the police had their eyes trained on this. In fact, there were hundreds of police officers assigned to this case full-time, and hundreds of local volunteers also came out to help.
That's a lot of people.
This is what we were talking about at the beginning when we mentioned that this was, one of the biggest and most labor-intensive missing persons and murder investigations there was, right? There was even 15,000 flyers that were distributed to local homes, right? Not only that, but their local church as well offered up a $1,000 reward.
I like that.
For any information which would help. That always comes in pretty handy. Now, here's some crazy stats, right? Over 300,000 people were questioned in this. Now, I'm sure question could just mean a knock on the door, asking a couple questions. We're not talking about intense questioning. In fact, there were 2,000 who they claim were seriously interrogated. That is still a massive amount of people to seriously interrogate, right? Ultimately, 2 people were arrested, right? And charges against someone who confessed ended up failing.
Ooh.
Yes, guys, we are back, and we need to keep this big old light on.
Oh,
you can't see 100%. It, but it's literally right here.
Yep.
Okay? And we have ourselves a little ad read for you guys. And it's from the good people over at Babbel.
Lovely.
Chip, how many times have you been on holiday and you've gone and you try to order something and you can't quite communicate exactly what you're after? You're a picky eater as it is.
Me knowing Glasser.
Yeah, see, as you can tell, Chip is in desperate need of using Babbel. Now, if you guys are interested in learning new languages, then I would highly recommend Babbel. Me and Chip are actually we're off on holiday, so we need to get on this ASAP.
Yep.
But just to run you guys through exactly what it is, they teach you language in 15-minute lessons, which is super ideal because it allows you to just do it whether you're jumping on the tube, you can just get one lesson done nice and quickly, or maybe you have a longer one and you can get through 3 or 4. It's in nice little bite-size lessons, which is always very ideal. Now, what it does is a lot of other places will just use AI. Essentially, they're cheapskating it, right? But what Babbel do is they have over 100 language experts putting this stuff together. So it's tip-top professional level stuff.
This is serious.
Yeah, it really is. It is serious, okay? And in fact, it's so serious that Babbel's teaching method has been scientifically proven, right, to be effective across multiple studies that they've done on it, which is great. I mean, you don't want to be wasting your time. If you're going to actually dedicate your time to learning these languages, at least make sure you're doing it in the best way you can, and that's what Babbel does. Mm-hmm. Babbel recently launched their own learning podcast as well, so you can brush up on your Spanish or French while cooking, exercising, anything like that. You can literally just have it on in your ear, nice and easy. You guys know how much we love podcasts over here. If you're wondering what sort of languages, well, they have 14 different ones. Chances are the one you're after is in here, including Spanish, French, Italian, German. Not only that, but they actually have speech recognition technology. Now, let me tell you, this is absolutely key because there's no point in learning a language if you're going to sound really funky when you do it, right? So what it does is it helps you work on your pronunciation and your accent. Amazing. So guys, start your new language journey today with Babbel, right? If you guys are interested, then what they're doing is they're offering you guys 6 months free with a purchase of a 6-month subscription. But you have to use the promo code MYSTERIES.
Mysteries.
So make sure you spell that right as well so that you can get your 6 months free when you purchase a 6-month subscription. So that is uk.babbel.com/play and use the promo code MYSTERIES, right? uk.babbel.com/play. Promo code MYSTERIES for an extra 6 months free.
3 weeks later, January 22nd, a construction worker has found both of the girls' bodies by a guardrail. Now, it was believed that the girls, were driven out here, whether they've been killed at this spot or dumped at this spot, I'm not quite sure. There were 3 wounds found on Barbara's chest, which were believed to be from an ice pick.
That is
Bit of
grim.
a strange one, but it is January, so it's probably pretty cold, but not sure if
Still,
Why would you be carrying an ice pick around?
Maybe you're absolutely mental murderer, serial killer, creep. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, she had blunt force injuries indicated towards blunt force trauma to the head.
Yeah.
Patricia as well just had bruises all up and down her body.
Yeah.
The scene was attended by over 160 police officers and forest preservers. Obviously, they're trying to find.
I mean, that's what we're talking about when we said there were so many people involved in this.
Yeah,
In the UK, would you ever have
on it.
160 officers rock up to the crime scene?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, they were trying to find evidence linked to the crime.
I have to ask though, if you send 160 officers, I understand that manpower is great, especially when you're trying to find a missing person, having as many people as possible. But do you need 160 officers at a crime scene? Surely at that point, it almost becomes detrimental to it. You're going to ruin evidence.
Yeah, that is what got criticised. Apparently, they shouldn't have allowed untrained people to trample over what could have been evidence. So maybe not so much officers because they are trained, but the forest preservers. But I guess they were just in their head at the time. They were thinking we need to cover
lots of ground, find evidence.
But
whatever.
I mean, yeah, if they're trying to find the body, let's cover lots of ground and try and find these bodies, right? But they found the bodies now, so now all you're doing is probably walking over evidence.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just forest preserver, they don't know what to look out for.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, but I can't see many situations where 160 police officers would be needed at a crime scene where it's just 2 girls. At this point, you're hoping the autopsy that they performed, they had 3 experienced forensic pathologists on this one. So
I like that.
Not just 1, but 3. Like I'm saying, there's a lot of people working on this case, right? I think we figured that out. And they all couldn't agree on a date of death, or they couldn't even agree necessarily on the cause of death. But they had a few things to say about it anyways, and what they did say was that they reckon the person was killed within 5 hours of their last confirmed sighting, which is pretty interesting, and that they both died of something called secondary shock.
Okay.
Obviously, you got your primary shock of when the event happens, and then the secondary shock, it can be caused due to low blood pressure and things like that when you have these injuries. And of course, they were found in the cold, so they reckon that it could have been to do with that as well. At the same time, though, because their bodies were on the side of a road, they also think that maybe some of the injuries that they saw on the bodies could have been caused by rodents, right? And
that's not the worst suggestion.
No, it's not the worst. But it's cold weather out there, and I would just think if you have
rats are built different, man.
No, they are. If this was London, the rats would have eaten the whole body.
Yeah.
Right. But my question is, surely they can identify rodent marks. They think that it's rodents, but they're not able to tell.
Maybe.
I would think that you could tell.
I'd like to think that too. Maybe back in the 50s is a little bit more difficult. I don't know.
Were the bodies maybe held somewhere beforehand in some underground place, and dead bodies, and then they were moved and they were dumped away, and in that place the bodies were eaten by some rodents? I don't know, but either way, that's absolutely grim to think about. Inside the autopsy, they also found that Barbara had participated in sexual intercourse prior to her death, but couldn't figure out whether it was consensual or not. So that doesn't really
Barbara
help.
was the 15-year-old. I mean, it's not unheard
if she did have a boyfriend
she had
as
a boyfriend,
well. So it could have been, but I don't know. It's
I mean, that one's up in the air.
Yeah.
Now, Chief Investigator Harry Gloss believes, and he stated this to the media, that the marks on her body indicated violence. He didn't believe in the rodent infestation.
So he's Team Calfreezy then?
He was Team Calfreezy. He was on your side.
I'm not convinced it's rodents either.
Yes. He also said that a thin layer of ice around the body indicated that the girls had most likely been alive until at least January the 7th.
Which is about 2 weeks before the bodies were found. Maybe just under that.
Yep. We got more details coming in hot off the presser. that's the thing. And he also said that the autopsy showed that Patricia, they discovered semen inside Patricia, which indicated,
some sort of sexual assault.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
However, other investigators are disagreeing with our man Harry Gloss, insisting there has been no such evidence of extreme violence or sexual molestation prior to the death. So
this case had a bit of controversy.
yeah, like
right?
two sides to the coin,
Because they claim that in the original behind-the-scenes papers that they had reported that there was this sexual assault, but in what was released to everyone else, that bit was missing. Mm-hmm. So did they decide that actually no, we don't think that? But then why was it in the original one?
Was there not enough evidence?
Yeah, I don't know. So we have that, but now we have to start talking. So we've laid everything out.
Yep.
We know what's happened. The bodies were found, in what state they were found. We've gone through the autopsies. Now it's time to figure out who did this.
Suspect number 1. This boy was 17 years old, Max Fleeg. At the time, he was considered the prime suspect. Now, due to his age, he's only being 17, he was protected by the law. And, he didn't have to do a polygraph test, which is a lie detector test for those who don't know. But he did do an unofficial one, which he actually volunteered to do himself, straight off the bat.
Get himself cleared up. Like, I'll do it anyways, don't worry.
And during this test, he allegedly confessed to the murders. Bit strange. Why would you volunteer and then confess? I don't really know. Either way, since it was unofficial, they couldn't use the results from the test. They couldn't use that.
So it was just pretty pointless.
Yeah,
the whole thing,
they couldn't use that confession. There was no legal means to use it. And they were forced to release him without charge. And there was also a lack of physical evidence anyway to corroborate his story.
Yeah.
But, however, later he was jailed for the murder of another woman. So
oh mate, what a disaster! That is a massive disaster.
He's gone in, he's done the test, he's gone, yes, I did it, I killed the 2 girls.
Yeah.
They can't use it because he's underage, it's an unofficial test. There is also no physical evidence, and then, so he gets out, and then he does actually go on to get jailed for murdering another woman. That looks dodgy to me.
That does look really dodgy. It's like he's got, I've got away with it. I can get away with it for ages now, and he's gone and done it.
That's possible. Like, he got away with it, and then he's like, yeah, I'll go kill another woman.
Yeah.
This time he actually gets caught.
The reason why it's 17 years old, that makes you think that maybe the girls trusted him a little bit more.
It kind of links in a little.
He links in.
He's closer age, maybe
Exactly.
maybe he was the older boyfriend or something of the kind.
But anyways, like you said, he got released and he went and committed that murder and ended up getting jailed.
Yeah.
So that's one of the suspects. The next one here that we have is a man named Walter Kranz.
Ooh, that just sounds like a serial killer.
He does.
Name. Yeah.
Do you not think, like, have you ever met anyone recently who's called Walter? I
No.
feel like it's a fictional name.
Yeah, Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Right, now this man was 53 years old at the time, and he was a self-proclaimed psychic, right? And he called the Chicago's Central Police Complaint Department, you can just call them up, on January the 15th, right? So now, remember, January 15th was before the girls were found, they were found on the 22nd, so about a week prior, he called up and he described a park where the girls would be able to be found. Now, we know that they weren't found, that wasn't where their bodies were because they were found on the side of a road.
Yep.
But interestingly enough, it was only 1 mile away from that park. So it was still a little bit close, but this guy was a self-proclaimed psychic, and he was obviously questioned. You have to look into these things. 1 mile isn't too far away, and his family, it was a family of psychics, right? And then not only that, but he claimed that this vision came to him after a night of heavy drinking. I'll be perfectly honest with you, Chip. If there's anyone more equipped to understand what a night of heavy drinking will do, it is you and I.
Yep.
And I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've never woken up the next day and thought, I know where these people have been found. Drinking, I haven't quite got to that point with it.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of cap.
Yeah, obviously
Walter's was going through a midlife crisis. He needs to buy a motorbike.
Yeah, he was capping.
Yeah.
Walter was capping, and he was eventually released. I mean, come on.
How can you trust a psychic? Like, I saw it in my dream, right?
And it wasn't even the right place.
Yeah, it was a mile away.
Yeah.
Now, Harry Gloss, he did have his favorite suspect, and that was a man named Edward Bedwell. He was 21 years old, tall individual, and he strongly resembled Elvis Presley. Now, the owners of the restaurant where Edward was employed claimed that on the morning of December 30th, both Bedwell and another male young male, had been with 2 girls who strongly resembled the Grimes sisters.
So far, so good,
So
Chip.
far, so good. Now, he was arrested, interrogated for 3 days, and he was formally charged on January the 27th. He signed a 14-page confession, confessing to the murders, that he and another 28-year-old man who was called William Cole Willingham,
That's a serious
quite
name.
the name, had given the girls hot dogs before extensively beating them and throwing them into a snow-filled ditch because they said no to their sexual advances. Now, that kind of adds up,
It
right?
might sound crazy to a normal person, but there are some crazy weirdos out there.
Yeah, and the story kind of lines up the dates and stuff. Anyway, when reading the confession, Loretta Grimes said, "It's a lie. My girls wouldn't be on West Madison Street. They didn't even know where it was." Now, quickly, I just want to say, that could be true, but let's be honest. There are places my mum think I haven't gone. And I've been there.
Yeah, it's true. And these
You
are
don't-
2
yeah.
girls, 12 and 15. They're probably a little bit rebellious. You know, mum told me not to go down here. I'll go down
Mum
here.
might have told me when I was a kid, don't go to this specific park. I probably went there.
Yeah.
Kids do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, just because she believes that
Their kids wouldn't go there.
her daughters are angels, they wouldn't do that, it's not necessarily true.
Yeah. Willingham, Bedwell's friend that they spoke of, actually says that he was in the company of Bedwell and 2 girls, but he said those 2 girls were not the Grimes sisters. After that, Bedwell quickly took back his confession, said, actually, yeah, no, I'm not confessing to this. And frankly, the story doesn't really line up because they were, at the time they said they beat up the girls, they were at work.
Okay,
Right?
they clocked in.
They literally they clocked in at work, and so there was evidence of them not. The timelines didn't match up. And then on the day that they said they'd killed him,
Yeah.
he was also at work. So it's not
Why
really
that was,
possible.
and then it's like, why did you sign a 14-page confession? Were they coerced by the police? The police thought these are too
we
good.
found that a
two
lot
good
lately. People,
suspects.
I would like to know, why do people confess to these
I
things
think if the police
they didn't do it?
get someone nailed down and why would they sign that? You know, if you are innocent, why would you sign it? But obviously the police are trying to pressure them.
They're
into
trying to
signing
nail
it.
someone
But
on
if
it.
you are innocent, you know, why would you let the police pressure you if you are innocent?
I have seen.
Did they have
like,
something else in them?
No, well, maybe, but I have seen Netflix documentaries all about that particular scenario where people that didn't do it, and you're right, they get coerced into confessing, and it's really weird. But I don't know whether that was the case with this, or he just wanted the credit for it. You know how people are just weird like that, aren't they? Now, February 6th came around, and he was let out on a $20,000 bond.
That's cash money right
The
there.
same year of his acquittal, he ended up being tried and acquitted of sexual assault of a 13-year-old in Florida. This man ended up dying in 1972.
How you get yourself in that situation twice on the
Yeah.
same year?
So,
That-
but the point is that maybe he did do it.
Yeah.
Maybe he did do
That-
it, and he
that-
thought, right, well, I've got away with that. Again, I'm just going to go and do this. Like, what is this?
100%. Maybe he was feeling guilty. He's feeling guilty. Signed a 14-page confession. Regretted it. Thought, you know what? I can get out.
can
of this
get away with
situation.
this,
I
yeah.
can get out. Got out of it. Went again. Actually, also got out of that because
Yeah.
he had got acquitted for the rape of the 13-year-old. But to be in that situation twice in the same year, it's already looking very dodgy. to me.
Crazy.
Like you don't end up in the same situation by accident. First time, maybe wrong place, wrong time.
Maybe
right?
it was. Nah, you don't. I don't know.
You've
I
got
literally, I don't know.
You've got to be a dodgy bloke.
Look, we not got the details on that particular case, so we
No.
can't comment on that case,
No.
right? Anyways, let's talk a little bit about what happened after these prime suspects had been interviewed.
Now, unfortunately for the mother, she was obviously unable to work or earn money, and she needed to pay the mortgage. She also needed to pay to bury her daughters. Friends and family actually came together and raised enough money in donations that she could pay off her entire mortgage, and she could actually bury her daughters.
Amazing.
Very
We love
nice
that.
thing from the community there.
Yeah.
Now, she was actually getting a lot of hoax calls, so obviously they've managed to get hold of her number, whatever.
Well, it was such a public case.
Yeah,
that you were going to get some weird things like this.
Yeah, but one of them in particular stood out. Now, somebody called up, and the caller said that he knew a detail that nobody else knows, not even the police, and that was that Patricia's toes were crossed.
That's Mate, that must be such a spooky phone call to receive.
100%.
Especially as the mother.
I think at that moment, once you're told something that nobody should know,
Yeah.
you are instantly, your heart's going to drop and be like, I could be talking to the man that has murdered my daughters.
Yeah, right. And look, the mother has to end up taking it a little bit further from there. So at this point, she says, right, look, the police aren't looking into it anymore because they've just sacked it off. And now it's time to look at this on a personal investigation level, right? Now, this personal, I should say, this retired police officer that was helping out in the personal investigation believes that it was a work of a 23-year-old who goes by the name of Charles Leroy Melquist.
Ooh, quite the name, that.
Yeah. In September 1958, he had actually been convicted of the murder of a 15-year-old. Right, who was found 10 miles away from the spot where the Grimes sisters were found. So obviously this guy was operating in similar areas.
Yeah, and we know he's capable of murder.
Yeah, not only that, but there was similarities in the murders itself and also the disposal. For some bizarre reason, and we couldn't quite figure this out, we spoke about it earlier, but they actually said he was not allowed to be questioned in relation to the Grimes sisters' murders as his attorney forbade it. Really...
It's not like he's too young, he is actually 23 years old, so there's no laws on the age here.
Yeah, and we couldn't really figure out, like, how's an attorney just said, oh yeah, nah, sorry, you can't question him. Was it maybe because there was just not enough evidence, so they said, I don't know, we don't maybe know the law that well enough.
That's for the courtroom.
Yeah. So anyways, the attorney said no, and that was that. The day after this 15-year-old's body was found, her name was Bonnie Leigh Scott. After that body was discovered, Loretta, the mother, received another phone call. And this time, it was from the same voice, and it said, "I've committed another perfect crime. This is another one the cops won't solve, and they're not going to blame Bedwell or Barry Cook." Now, the mother said that this was the exact same voice as the one she heard in May 1957 about Patricia's toes being crossed over.
Wow, she knew. She didn't forget that voice.
Yeah, well, that's what she said.
And as a mother,
you wouldn't. Exactly. And nothing ever came of it. Still unsolved. No one's doing time for this particular case. That Charles Leroy Melquist did die in 2010. Was he the guy? What do you think, Chip? Out of all these suspects, we've got Max, the 17-year-old. We have got the psychic Walter. We've also got the chief investigator's favorite, Edward Bedwell. And then finally, the man on the phone, Charles Leroy Melquist. Who are you leaning towards?
I got a couple questions straight off the bat. First of all, he said that nobody knows this detail about the toes being crossed, not even the police. Well, the police must have known because they found the body. Somebody must have told the mother that the police that the toes were crossed, or because the mother didn't find the bodies. So who told the mother that the toes were crossed? And if nobody told her, that means she's seen the bodies and seen for herself that the toes are crossed, which means everybody else has.
What you're saying is how they confirmed it?
How has that detail missed everybody else, but only the mother and the killer have noticed? That's the first thing. Also, the man on the phone said they're not going to blame Bedwell or Barry Cook.
I think it was probably Edward Bedwell until we can get 100% confirmation that the toes were crossed, and that is genuinely only something that the people that had arrived to and seen the bodies would know, then I would be more inclined to believe that it's Charles. But I don't know if we've either had any confirmation on it, or it's just a little bit up in the air right now. And I think
maybe Edward Bedwell was the one that made the call.
Bedwell got away with it.
Maybe he made the call.
Maybe I don't know. I think they would be able to recognize the voice and be able to put to it. Actually, it's not recorded, so
it might have been recorded. I don't know. There's a couple of details, extra details we would need to figure out that exact thing.
Anyways, we want to know your guys' theories on this. Who do you think did it? Do you think there's any way we can rule out some of these suspects? We want you guys to know. Of course, Guys, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
Yep.
and a bunch of other platforms as well. We leave links down below. If you want to just listen to the audio, maybe you're on a commute and you just prefer it that way, you can tune in. Please hit the
Yeah.
follow button. We can see how many followers we got, and we need to up the follower count.
Yes, get us up those charts on Spotify because we have been rising. The Fellas Mysteries
We
has
have.
been rising. But that is all. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next Monday with another case to solve.